And joining us on the line right now is our good friend, Maryland Comptroller Peter Franchot.
One of the Democrats not in disarray,
That's
I should
right.
just say. Yes.
We like Peter. He's a good guy. And listen, he did something that has caught a lot of people's attention, and we wanted to find out more about it. So it's good to have him here with us this morning. Good morning, Comptroller Franchot.
Brian and Larry, thank you for giving our folks the straight talk and helping people in the Washington area understand what the issues are. I'm appreciative you always sometimes give me a call, and I just want to applaud both of you for what you do.
Wow, thank you. That's very kind.
And thank you for joining us, Peter Franchot. Kids, it can only go downhill from here. We should just cut this interview short.
So what the hell are you doing with these tax? No, I'm just kidding. So I mean, really, seriously, you decided that some tax preparing companies, you're blocking them from filing electronic and paper returns, and I'm curious as to what is going on here and why was this necessary?
Sure. Well, this is a huge issue. Identity theft and tax fraud, as your listeners know, are top of the list of some economic concerns that people have in Maryland. The first issue is all of these groups that have hacked into corporate and government tax records and stolen people's financial information. We're talking about tens of millions of records stolen. Those tend to end up on the black market and are sold. Many of them end up in tax returns that ask for fraudulent refunds. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is we're just 10% into our tax season. We've processed about 300,000 tax returns in Maryland. And we noticed that there were thousands of what we call highly questionable tax returns. These are returns that have essentially been made up in someone's imagination, and they are filled with false tax refund requests. When we traced these back, they ended up in inner-city tax preparation offices, largely one company named Liberty Tax, and we decided to take proactive action and shut them down proactively so that a month from now we weren't facing a problem with tens of thousands of fraudulent returns.
Well,
that's the action we've taken. We've gotten, I think, pats on the back from people who say, good, better to get ahead of the wave and not have to clean up the mess after it's happened.
So you believe there's some fraudulent activity going on there, and you flagged it. But let me ask you a question. If you are just somebody who legitimately filed your taxes through one of these companies, and now your income tax return is being blocked, what should you do?
Well, there's not much you can do because we're not processing them until the companies that were. This is Liberty Tax is a franchise company, so these Liberty Tax return places are located generally in economically challenged areas of Maryland. This is the third largest tax processing company in the country, but they specialize in representing low-income areas. And until these individually owned franchises that we have closed, 41 of them now, prove to us that they're on the level, we're not going to process the returns that have been filed. So individuals that are in the queue are just going to have to wait because we're just not going to put up with fictional returns asking for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 refunds that are fraudulent.
Our guest is Peter Franchot, Maryland Comptroller, and I should think so one of the reasonable voices out of Annapolis when it comes to budgetary concerns, and that's why I want to ask you about the governor's budget and the fight that's looming. You know, we've got a $450 million budget surplus, and if I had told you that 2 years ago, I think you would have been surprised. And so now what do we do with it? Conservatives are actually wishing that Governor Hogan would have done more in tax cuts, in returning more of that money. So, conservatives don't think he's done enough, but the Democrats seem to want to spend all of it. Where do you stand?
Well, I'm a little old-fashioned. I think that they should take it and put it in the cupboard and wait because there's some volatile times ahead. The stock market, everybody is aware of what's happened in the month of January. If the stock market goes through one of its historic corrections later on in 2016, the state could be holding $500 million or more additional costs just for its own pension fund in expenses. So why would we go and either do a tax cut or spend every bent dime of it? Why wouldn't we just wait? Do the fiscally cautious thing, the thing that most Marylanders are doing, which is just let's consolidate, let's rein in spending, rein in debt, and if we have a surplus, Let's put it aside for a rainy day.
Well, but on that point, I remember before the last election, you were raising red flags and saying, you know what, we got some problems ahead if we don't get our budgetary issues under control. The amazing story here, and one that perhaps goes unreported, is the budgetary issue is under control. What happened? What was the big difference?
Well, the difference is that we have a moderating majority, I'll tell you that, on the Board of Public Works. We just had a meeting yesterday, and I complimented the governor on the fact that the spending and the debt in the state of Maryland is beginning to be moderated, and that wherever I travel around the state of Maryland, the private sector and the business community is saying, look, we feel more comfortable. Now, okay, people feel more comfortable. Does that mean we should take what we have and spend it on a tax cut? Would I like a tax cut? Sure, everybody would love a tax cut. But the issue is what's going on in the marketplace, and it's very uncertain right now. China's uncertain, Japan's uncertain, Europe's uncertain.
Right.
The U.S. is kind of doing better. Maryland is lagging behind the U.S. So my recommendation is do no harm. Let's not hurt ourselves.
Save for a rainy day.
Take advantage of our solvency and just park this money, put it aside until the end of the year.
Okay, we're out of time, but I just want clarification because my understanding is the budget puts aside 6% of the surplus to a rainy day fund. Bond agencies recommend 5%. You're recommending just hold it all.
Hey, my stock portfolio went down 6% in a week.
Okay. I got it. I just wanted clarification. Thank you so much. Always good to have you.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Bye-bye.